How it has been started now.
So while the people are joining, let me just, I don't know if they can see my view. If you click on speaker view, then you can probably see me, but I can see that some, well, obviously most of you are in India, but I'm in Germany, and that is a very famous church. If you can see it there, it's in Cologne. Cologne is Köln, a city in Germany. And we can see it's a very famous church, which is over there. So I'm doing this from the hotel room.
Okay.
Before I go for dinner.
That is very amazing to see. Yeah.
Yes,
that is very amazing
really
to see.
Amazing. Really amazing. To see.
And it's raining out there, so I don't know what is the weather in India for the moment, but it's unfortunately raining.
Yeah.
It's quite dry over here, sir.
Yeah, it is very dry.
Very hot.
Hot and humid.
I can see that because
in September also it is dry. Yeah.
Vikas Kumar has his hair moving. I'm assuming you have a fan on top of your head.
Yes. So should we start now?
Sure.
Let us start. There are 29 participants. People, I think people are now entering, or we should start.
They are entering. I'm just.
So let us wait for 1 to 2 minutes, and then we will start.
Let's see somebody, is there anybody who has a photonics joke? Is there something about somebody who's going on a diet and he says like, oh, I like to eat because it's light, you know, something like that. The light, and there's something.
So I want to eat light.
I can't remember, but maybe somebody has a good joke to tell us. So isn't it too late for the people to?
No, sir. 7:30 is almost fine for us because 7:30 is like evening time.
But I like the joke that somebody posted. I have a photonics joke, but it has no mass. That's a good one.
No, now 32 participants are there.
So are most people at this time, are most people still at the university, at home, in public transport? Where are you usually at this time of the day?
All are mixed like that.
I am at my home.
I am also at home.
I'm in my college.
Some students have joined the universities and institutes, but somebody has not joined because their professors are not saying that you should come. You should stay at home and work from home.
Okay. That was another funny. Don't believe atoms; they make up everything. How did you guys just know them, or you just made it up? But it's so there is a whole bunch of photonics or science jokes.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
There may be plenty, but we don't know these kind of jokes eventually.
So let me tell you, I'm very happy to make this webinar. EPIC is a European organization. And although I consider Europe very broad, you know, I will consider Israel part of it, maybe Russia, maybe not India, but I like India very much. When I was 20, I went backpacking. We went to Dharamsala, to Rajasthan, then we went to Agra. I was there with my, she was my girlfriend at the time, but
yes, sir.
And at home I have 2 vegetarians and 1 vegan. I've got 3 children. So it's fantastic to go to India, and it's actually the opposite. It's like here we serve meat, but the default is kind of vegetarian. So that's wonderful. I like the vegetarian. I like the Indian food extremely. You know, I like the curries. I like
it is full of spice. It is full of spice.
I love the smells. I like the noise. I like the colors. So on the private level, I like India very much, and this is why I was sure, although, you know, I don't see the link between EPIC, SPIE, OSA or India, but I just like the country and the people so much, so I'm very happy to do it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It is full of cultural heritage. India is full of that things.
Yes. And so recently I have been to the Laser World of Photonics exhibition. I think I've been there 2 or 3 times. I try to come to India once a year, and it was in the south. What's the big city in the south with all the electronics?
It is Bangalore.
I went to Bangalore, and then I went, I don't know where was the previous one. It was more close to, maybe close to Mumbai. I can't remember because I traveled, but I visited some photonics companies in Mumbai. And my impression from India was that the electronics side was more the Bangalore. Delhi was more the aerospace, government, military kind of things.
Yes,
and
sir,
maybe
it is full of
like
cantonment area.
Sorry?
It is like cantonment area is there in Delhi.
Yes,
Delhi,
and
yeah.
I thought that more industrial, maybe in Mumbai, that where I could have more lasers, cutting lasers. And it was in, and the guys that I visited Meta, they make lasers, and also the guys who do the lasers for cutting the metal. My good friend from SLTL, Sajarland, and they are based. What is the state where Gandhi was, where you can have no alcohol?
Oh my God, I don't know the name.
The state from where.
It is
Bihar is
Bihar.
a
It
dry
is
state.
Bihar. It is
Bihar,
Bihar now. I
Gujarat,
think
Bihar, Gujarat are
Yeah,
the two dry
Gujarat.
it may
states.
be Gujarat also. Yeah,
Gujarat.
yeah,
Gujarat,
Gujarat.
yes. Thank you, by the way, for being so active on the chat. But Gujarat, so I went there also. So, and and again, just to tell you how much I like India while we wait for the others, I had planned with my whole family, my children are 20, 17, and 17. I wanted to show them, and it's hard to go on big trips with the whole family. But
Yeah.
finally, we agreed, let's go somewhere. And it was in India. Obviously, it was canceled because of COVID, but I was going to bring my whole family to India for them to experience it. So I
Somebody is
think for
saying
the
in the chat
first,
box, like, how do you know that Photon's Catholic?
say that again.
Yeah, somebody has just chatted. I mean, just how do you know that the photon is not Catholic?
It doesn't have a
Is it
mass.
a joke?
That's
It's
a
a
funny
Christian
one.
joke.
That's great.
It does not have a mass, so it is not Catholic.
Okay. So, are still people coming? You still want us to wait, or do you want me
Yes,
to start?
like
It
I
is
think we can
38.
start
also
now.
coming, but we
No,
can start.
I will start, but with a little bit softer things as well. I will tell you my background first. So my name is Carlos Lee. I'm the Director General of EPIC. So before I start with the EPIC, let me tell you about myself. I don't know if you can see to my face. Anybody can guess my origins a little bit?
You are from China?
A little bit, so because I never know. But yes, it's half Asian. My father is from Singapore. My grandfather is born in China. So so I'm half Singapore, half Belgian. But they met in Spain. So I'm born in Spain. This is why Carlos is a typical Spanish name. Lee
Yes,
is from
yes.
Singapore. I live in Belgium since the age of 5. So I'm Belgian, European. And I worked before working at EPIC, so the Photonics Association, for 8 years. I worked 16 years at the Semiconductor Association, SEMI. SEMI is the Association for Semiconductor Equipment and Materials, so all of those who make machines and the chemicals and the raw materials to make a chip industry. And I changed from semi to photonics because I felt that the semiconductor industry is a very mature industry. And what I mean by a mature industry is that the people know each other. The companies, they know each other. It exists for 60 years. The association exists for 50 years. The exhibitions are there. The magazines are there. They have standards. They have technology. They have roadmaps. And I felt my contribution was much less to that industry. So I went from electronics, semiconductors, to photonics, because I felt I could contribute to the experience from a mature industry to an emerging industry. But there is quite a big overlap in terms of technology. If you look at the phone, you could argue if the display, is it electronics or photonics? Is the VCSELs that recognize my faces shooting lasers, 30,000 does electronics, photonics? The camera that captures light, the flash that emits light? You could argue what is electronics or photonics, and actually it doesn't really matter. And the answer will depend on your background, but it doesn't really matter. But the ecosystem, and by ecosystem, I mean the kind of companies in that industry are very different. In electronics, it is usually few big companies. In photonics, is still a lot of small, young companies. So that's what I would say is the difference between electronics and photonics. So that's a little bit about myself. I don't have a technology background, so I'm very, very jealous of all of you, because you probably most have a technology degree. And you know, the theory is that you can always study later in life. I'm 45. I could probably go back to university and study, but in practice, it doesn't happen. Once I have 3 children, I work, would I now go and study 4 or 5 years at the university of physics? So I could, but it's not going to happen. So I'm a bit jealous of you, because you actually understand how things work. I can understand the applications. I can understand that a VCSEL, vertical cavity, I already know it's an acronym. I know that LIDAR is an acronym, so I'm already proud I know that. I know the L from LIDAR it means light, and I can understand the applications. Okay, it sends lasers, it can calculate the distance, it can recognize my face, but that's where it stops. That's the most I will know. I can know that you can put a LIDAR, you have something in the phone or in a car or in industrial manufacturing, but that's where my knowledge is limited. You, on the other hand, all of you on the call here, because I'm assuming you all have that technology background, you have the potential to really understand how a LIDAR or any photonics technology, how it works, and what it could do, and to develop that further. So that's what I say, that I'm jealous in that sense, because when you understand physics or photonics related technology, anyone, you understand how things just work, and your potential is much larger. So in that sense, I'm a bit jealous of all of you. But okay, I had another career. I studied business, and I ended up with this association. EPIC stands for European Photonics Industry Consortium. We are European oriented. That means that 90% of our members are European companies, European headquartered companies. 5% are non-European, and 5% are global. So again, we are European oriented and with a global footprint. So my job is usually to travel around the world. I've got colleagues who cover most of Europe, but I go regularly, as I said, to Canada, USA, Brazil, Russia, India, China. So that's most of my trip. So although I don't understand so much on the photonics technology, I have traveled and visited a lot of companies around the world. Last year, me and my colleague, Jose Pozo, he's our CTO, we visited 190 companies. So we go in the company, they show us their manufacturing lines, the applications, their products, and that is my source of learning, of inspiration of the industry. The companies are very different around the world, but again, in photonics, they tend to be young and small, but they're almost all very innovative. You know, most companies are unique in the world in what they do. They're really high tech. For Europe, I can give you some statistic, 95% of the CEOs of the small companies, the CEO of the company has a PhD. Now you take any other sector, find me one sector where the CEOs of these companies have a PhD in science. You know, it's very rare. 90% probably are a spin-off of a university. So we're dealing with very, very high advanced leading edge technology. What is also very nice about photonics is that it is a key enabling technology. So key technology in the sense that it's kind of the brain, it's what makes things possible. It makes other things possible, so that's the enabling side. And pervasive, meaning that it's everywhere. And let's do the exercise here, since we have a lot of people. Name me 5 words or things, or just name something, and let's see if we can find a connection with photonics. So just type a word in the chat, and let's see. And I want to prove to you that photonics is everywhere. So let's see if somebody types a word. A thing, a photo. Well, that's too obvious. That almost means photonics. Photonics is capturing light. Just name me something else. Plants, lighting for horticulture. You can have light. So I'm going to focus on the plant. You can have LEDs, which you can grow indoor fruits and vegetables. And I've tried a raspberry. You can change the taste of the raspberry based on the lighting. You can accelerate or slow down the growth. So if you see that the stock market of tomatoes, there's a stock market because there are too many tomatoes right now for this week on the market, you can slow down the growth. So that would be for plants. Astronomy, well, again, that's telescope, that's light. Soil, the floor. If you take the floor, if you have to grow vegetables, you can now put a hyperspectral camera on a drone. You can analyze the soil quality and say, where do we have to put fertilizers? You know, the old ways, you just throw fertilizers each time, and some places had already too much, you throw more, and some places don't have, and you miss it. So you can do precision agriculture. So you can map the quality of the land. So that's what I would do for soil. Cell, I do not know if you know a battery cell. And batteries, you would use lasers for welding the batteries, or if you're talking about a cell, is all the microscopy. So all the the soil, OCT, that would be for that. You could come with jeans. I'm looking at my trousers. The jeans, they don't do stone wash. They used to put stones to wash it to make it the jeans. I don't know, you know, a little bit. Now they do it with lasers, printing on clothes, textiles, so all of that. So you can name me any of these technologies. You can see that photonics is pervasive. But most of you are probably in your 20s, and okay, you can stop putting stuff in the chat. But as sensors, that by itself is a photonics technology. But you can ask it another way around. And if you're in your 20s and you have to work for 40 years, in the past you asked your children, so what do you want to do as job when you grow up? And apparently that's not what you ask anymore. You can ask the question another way. What challenges do you want to tackle when you grow up? Well, not in your case, you know, I was thinking of my children, but what challenges do you want to tackle? And you can talk about food, not the hungriness in the world, that there's enough food in the world. You could say environment, quality of the air. You can take any of those topics that you like, energy, clean energy, and climate change, that's correct, yes, climate change, and you can link that to photonics. With your background in physics, you can ask yourself, you know, what is it that is driving me? What frustrates? Maybe you could just say injustice, you know. If you take injustice, you could say education. You'd say education, I say I want all the children in the world to have access to the same education. How do you get computers? How do you get them internet? You know, internet, how do you do laser telecommunications? So any problem, and that would be one of my recommendations. You know, I kind of have here a few notes about tips. And among the tips is like, find something that really you care about, that you really care, and learn about that topic. So if just take it, let's take food, you know, how to grow foods using photonics technology in a more efficient way, and try to research that topic, learn about that topic. So you've got your photonics background, but try to learn about something else and explore that topic. And I'm not even saying that as part of your studies, but if you really genuinely like it, you will be interested, that you will read about that topic. Okay, what are the different ways of growing food? What are the challenges in growing food? How about photonics in agroalimentaire industry? How can we do better sorting of the food? How can you better sense the ripeness of the fruit? How do you know when is the right time to pluck it? How can you use photonics technologies to sort the food and things like that? And you learn about that, you go to exhibitions about that, and the day that you're looking for a job, you will be so passionate that the guys, wherever you will be applying, you know, whether it's a research lab or a company, they were like, wow, you are really passionate about this, you know, we're going to hire you. Because they will see that not only you have a passion, but because you have the passion, you will know that topic so well, you will be very competent in that. Of course, the other side benefit is that you will just be a very happy person, because if you do what you like, it doesn't feel like work. I think there's a sentence that says, do a job that you like and you will never have to work a single day in your life. And in my case, I like my work. It doesn't feel like work at all. So I see photonics handle coronavirus disease. There is plenty of work that you can find of that. The most obvious one is the UVC lighting, so the LEDs for that. I'm sorry, I cannot read all of the chats while I'm presenting, but since I just happened to see the COVID, you can see that. So you're studying a field which is just unbelievable, because it's fantastic. It's the future. It can solve any societal challenges. It will be part of that. Find a thematic that you personally like, so that you will research that even more. And the other tip that I had over here is like, build a network. Go, I don't know if you can do this in India, I don't know, but go to companies, find companies that do that. Do an internship, voluntary. You know, I don't know again what you do in the summer, if you're paid or not, what you do, but go to companies and say, listen, I really like what you're doing. Again, because it's a passion, they will feel that, and they're like, well, sure, how, you know, and just work there. Don't, again, put it in the context. I don't know so much the situation in India, but if you can afford it, don't worry about money in the beginning of your career. From 20 to 30, just think about learning and learning and learning. You know, the money that will come later on. So just learn as much as you can about the companies, about all that goes around that. I'm an industrial association, so usually I will go by companies. You care about clean air. Let's take windmills. Windmills, by the way, you have LIDAR to see the speed of the wind. Who makes windmills? Where are these windmill manufacturers located? Do they do the research and development themselves, or do they contract to another university? Which universities are very active in windmill, into the speed of air and things like that? You understand the technology, but that's not enough. You don't work at technology. You work at a research organization, a university, or a company. So try to find that out. And in India, for all of those who are joining, who think that I'm going to find a job in Europe or in the US, well, that's not going to happen. First, it's not my job. That's not the point, but it's hard. I think it's not easy to find a job, because if I want to hire somebody. There are candidates in Europe as well, and you have the whole visa issue. So don't count on me to help you for that. And also, I want you to work in India. I want you to create companies. If there are not companies, contribute all what you have learned in India, bring value to India to address the societal challenges in your country. I would very much like that. So find out in your country, again, Li-Fi technology can, you're putting all these questions. Afterwards, you know, when we finish, I'll go through those questions and I can see if we can answer some of them. But find out in your country, in your region, whatever is realistically possible, what are the companies or the research organizations involved. There is one good thing about COVID. It's a disaster, but ironically, I want to say one good thing is that people accept video calls much more. So if you want to talk to somebody and you say, listen, can we have a WhatsApp call? And again, some countries like China, they use WeChat, they're very open to video calls. Maybe India has been using WhatsApp for a long time. But in Europe, it was not so easy to schedule video calls. But now because of COVID, it's kind of almost normal. You can see prime ministers from their home. I'm doing it from a hotel. So you can schedule calls with video calls with anybody, actually, not just in India, but in the world, to understand that. So find a topic that you like, find a guy who's working on that, and tell him, like, listen, I'm really interested into that topic. Could we just have a call just about something? Obviously, you need to tell the reason why, because you want to understand the technology or the challenges or something. Don't be shy. Learn, ask questions, talk to people. You can, of course, learn by doing online search and desktop research and things, but my personal way is by talking to people. So, by the way, if you talk to people, you build a relationship with the person. In the end, you're going to be needing a job, a research partner, a client, money, advice, a mentor. Those are human people. So build a network of people. So being smart is not always enough. You can have maybe a bit less smart, but have a really large network of people around you, and that will help your career and address all the challenges further. So building that community, researching a topic that you like, learn and meet the companies. So I think those were my tips, which I had written down. And what problems you want to solve, the applications, visiting companies, I think so just build that network. So in summary, photonics is fantastic. It's the future and you have a lot of opportunities. So if you have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. And let me just see in this chat if there is anything that I can do. Bioinformatics. Oh, listen, I'm sorry. Bioinformatics, too technical for me. I don't understand what you mean by bioinformatics. So maybe you can specify what you mean in bio and informatics. But let me just tell you, in biology, a lot of photonics. Already seeing, that's obviously capturing the light, all these new technologies. And in informatics, I'm just going to exaggerate it now, but if you just take all what is neuromorphic, all the integrated photonics, you can see that in all the quantum aspects that goes into maybe the informatics. Let me see if there is an optical tweezers. Also, it's too technical for me, but you just explained that they can be an option for cancer cells. Li-Fi replacing Wi-Fi. No, Li-Fi just means that it flickers at a frequency so that you can communicate data. So Li-Fi does too. And if it can replace Wi-Fi, it's different. Wi-Fi crosses walls. Fantastic. Well, if you want to keep security and if you're working in security and defense, you don't want it to go outside, then you would use Li-Fi. It's a different technology. It's different. Wi-Fi is using a wavelength, a radio wavelength that we're running out, and so we need to find other ways to communicate. It's complementary. It will not replace it. It's different. Let me see if there is another question. So the COVID, I told you there's a lot of things going there. Photonics in cancer, just for instance, cancer's resection of margin tumor cells, resection margins. Okay, I exaggerate always, but today you've got a cancerous tumors. When they have to operate that, they cannot see what is cancerous. They take a little bit, they cut enough of the tumor so that otherwise it starts again. But listen, it's your brain. You don't want to cut too much of your brain, do you? So what if you could just it's like operating in the dark, okay, let's just hope it's going to work out. What do we take? What if you could just switch on the light and just visualize it? So, whether you could just in the scalpel, in the knife, see what is cancerous or not. If you could visualize it, there is a lot of work on a cancer. and photonics. Research and development in private industries. Listen, industry is companies. Companies want to make money. To make money, they have to sell more products, better products. Usually, at least in the Western world, it's through innovation. Europe is not a cheap country. We're not selling because our products are cheaper, but because you innovate. To innovate, you want to incorporate the latest technologies. So that's why you can either put photonics into the product. Again, if you had the VCSELs, the new iPad, by the way, has it. I saw it from a friend. You have the iPad and you can really just measure the room and he will calculate the distances. You could not do that before. So now that iPad is better than another one. Or you can incorporate photonics in the manufacturing process. So if you want to make photonic integrated chips, well, the product, the chip is already photonics, but the manufacturing of that will be using alignment tools, vision tools. So in the manufacturing of products, you can use photonics. So that industry is very, very much. In our membership, we've got Intel chipmaker. They are a member of EPIC. Audi, they make cars. The Dutch Cancer Research Institute in the Netherlands, they're a member. They have to pay to be a member, by the way, you know, so it means they're really interested. The European Space Agency is a member of EPIC. So you can see that these end users, they're becoming part of our network. I see here somebody about the quantum computation technology. I'll just say in quantum, I just talked with Volvo. They have a quantum person, Volvo, the car making. I talked this, actually, I'm looking to that topic now. So I talked with British Telecom for quantum. I talked with the Space Agency about quantum. So it has a lot. There's a big overlap with quantum and photonics. Technology-wise, government interest. Is there opportunity for biology students in the area of photonics? Yes. I think that, you know, maybe 5 generations ago, well, 5, you probably didn't have to study. 4 generations before you had to study one thing, and now things are becoming so complex that people who you have to do 2 things. You need to know about and photonics and about biology. Like, listen, you can either take 2 degrees and 2 PhDs, or you need to come together. So take somebody who is interested in photonics but is interested into biology, and you need to find your partner, which is somebody who knows really well about biology and is impressed about what photonics can do. So yes, as I said, photonics is everywhere, which means that everywhere can find a link with photonics. Spintronics, again, to technology. I don't understand what is Spintronics. Construction industry. Okay, in construction, if you take a cooling tower from a nuclear energy center, the fibers for structural health monitoring, or bridges, you know, you would find fibers over there. Train tracks, you know, to monitor. So in the construction industry, civil construction, you have just search for all what has to do with structural health monitoring. Photonics transistor, just look up all what is happening in photonic integrated circuits. As I said, a company such as Intel becomes member. Start looking for silicon photonics. I'm just looking at the questions now. What are the area of research in photonics? Now, listen, it's everywhere, and it depends. I think some countries have special strength. So if you take Switzerland, I was in Switzerland yesterday, they do what is precision mechanics. The watch industry may be interested in ultra-fast lasers on how to either cut the gears or change the color of the metal. So photonics is everywhere, but different countries, different regions care about different things. Some people will care more about agriculture. Some people will care more about manufacturing. Look again, first I would say you can either say like, listen, I live in Gujarat and I'm gonna stay in Gujarat. And what does Gujarat care? Well, Gujarat does most of the machines for lasers for cutting diamonds. So I'm just gonna go there. Or you can say, well, I care about a specific topic and I will just study that. Or you can say, I love cars. I just love cars. And I'm just going to go and study all the electronics, photonics technologies in automotive. You could just say that you like lighting, interior lighting. You know, if the new cars have these stripes, the light carpets, which are appearing in the new cars, you can do it that way. So what else? Laser process, develop cutting glass, solar cells, sensors, slits, graphene sensors. Again, these are very standard things. So again, you can either study solar cells because you care about clean air, or you can study about lasers for cutting cells and things like that for material structuring. Atomic energy, photonics as atomic energy. Gérard Mourou, he's a Nobel Prize winner for the lasers. He is, one of his dreams is to be able to use the high power lasers to make radioactive material not radioactive. Well, that is dealing with atomic energy, you know, because if you can get rid, the problem with atomic energy is the waste, but if you can make the waste not a contaminant, then that would solve, that Gérard Mourou is looking into that. The challenges facing photonics. The challenge facing photonics, I would say, is the industrialization. Again, you can answer this question in many ways. What are the challenges facing photonics? But as an industrial organization, is that the technology is there, you could do it, but listen, it's too big, it's too expensive, it's not, the resolution is not good enough, so you can't actually use it. In theory, maybe the scientific concept, the proof of concept is there, but listen, how is that helping the world, the scientific concept? What you need is to have it into products. So if I'm allergic to nuts, can I take a picture of my plate to see if there's anything there that is going to be against my allergy? If I am diabetic, can I just every morning when I unlock my phone, can he look at my iris and see the glucose level? So the challenge, I think, of photonics is that it has to reach the size, the price, and the performance to put it into products. And this is why this is my personal thing. I like to see it in action. Therefore, I'm working for an industrial organization. So I would say that would be one of them, is make it industrial. Where is photonics lacking? It is lacking photonics. There are many places where it will go there. Take aeronautics, take an airplane. The Li-Fi in the airplane, that would be great, you know, to have Li-Fi, higher speeds. Again, the structure of the wings, to monitor the strength of the wings, you could put all these fiber sensors on the wing. That would be nice to have over there. So there are many things that you could put it there, but again, price, cost, performance, and it will get there. But at EPIC as an association, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to promote. First, we're trying to get the partners to work together so that it can be very efficient to reach that point where it can enter the market. And then we're working on promoting photonics in all applications fields. Free space, photonics technology. I'm not sure what you mean, but the example that I give is that, you know, I'm here at the top of a building and in New York, you know, for the stock market, they have to click sell. Well, it's not a click, you know, they program the computer, but when they click buy or sell, you want it to go to that other building over there. So of course, then they had the fiber to go there, but then you can just use a laser to just shoot directly to the rooftop over there. So I don't know if that's what you mean by free space. Maybe you're talking about satellite laser space communication. Advanced modulation technique, again, a bit too technical for me, but you have a lot, you know. In our membership, we will have, I'm convinced we'll have Google, Facebook, Cisco, it will come over there. You can see how much these companies like Facebook are interested into photonics. Cisco, all the data centers are very, very much interested into that. So I think that covered some of those specific applications, but is there anybody who has not a technology question, but about something else? You can do that. And what I also want to do, because I want to get a picture, so I understand, I know where you are, you know, it's maybe not practical for you, but I would love to have one picture of all of us. So I'm going to take my phone, and if you can just, and you don't have just for 30 seconds, but if you can just show your face, or if you can do that, you know, and afterwards you can hide the camera if you want, but can you all turn your camera on? One, I want to know if you're listening. Are you sleeping? You know, but I would just love if you can all put your cameras on for 30 seconds, and I'll take a picture, and just for my souvenir to see all of that. So somebody's asking energy consumption. Well, data centers using silicon photonics consume much less power than traditional. So in data centers, yes, energy conservation photonics is a lot. Let me just take already one picture, but let's see if more people can just unmute themselves, unmute the cameras, and I can see where you are. So let me just take another picture over here. It's fantastic. So yes, I talk a lot. I know that, but I hope, you know, I don't know if you find my comments interesting. I'm just sharing with you my perspective and some ideas. But again, I'm happy to. We can just close the camera now. But thank you very much for that. But do we have any other questions? I'm just here for if I can share anything. Any other questions about anything? So again, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask the question, or you can just type it up. Otherwise, I do understand it's a bit late for you, but photonics for security and defense. Yes, a lot in photonics. So in our membership, we also have, for instance, defense companies, either Elbit in Israel that makes full system, MBDA, they make missiles. But again, the fundamental of being able to see, to track, there is a lot. When I was in Delhi, I met several companies that were involved into these call for tenders products that have that. So yes, security and defense, all of the companies in that field will be looking at that. So again, whether it's a high power laser to paralyze a tank, to the tracking of missiles, there is a lot in security and defense as well. Can help defense weapons. As I said, yes, it's not security and defense is not called kill and shoot. It's security and defense, but you have it, yes. The aims of EPIC. Well, maybe I will tell you the aims of EPIC, because what I think is missing in India is a photonics industry association. And I just Googled it before, you know, Photonics Industry Society or something like that. But why EPIC exists, and the same could apply for India. And it just needs one person to do it. APIC was created 17 years ago by a person who noticed that there were so many people out there 17 years ago, many people out there, and they didn't have a home. You know, it happened after the telecom bust. The gentleman, Tom Pearsall, he was working at Corning. He's the founder of EPIC. When the telecom industry collapsed, a lot of people lost their jobs. Companies were going bankrupt. And he saw all of these people and companies disappearing, and the people, but there's no home. Who's going to bring these people together? Who's going to organize meetings and organize this forum? EPIC, we organize 100 events per year, but we're not an event organizer. It's not just an exhibition. We are more like connecting people, bringing people together who share the same passion. In our case, also with an industrial aspect. It's not just the passion for photonics. We want to people who are working on a technology which is advanced enough that you can incorporate and put it on the market. But the purpose of EPIC is the competitiveness of the European photonics industry. And what that means is that we have a lot of companies in photonics in Europe, 1,000 to 2,000 companies. And I would like that in 20 years, we still have a decent amount of companies. We have seen industries in Europe, for instance, the solar industry. Solar industry, Germany had most solar panels installed in the world. All the machines to make the solar panels were from Germany. The research, the Fraunhofer Institute, ISE, Institut Solar Energie, was doing that. And in 2 years, it all moved to another continent. And it's a bit sad because, you know, having factories, it's jobs, it's operators, it's engineers, PhDs, but it's just, it has a canteen, it has a building, it creates jobs. And every continent needs jobs. So it's good that you can buy solar panels. That's good for the environment. But come on, we need jobs. And if you are studying a PhD, or just if you're studying physics, you want to work somewhere, you need companies where to work. And I recommend that you contribute to the development of your own country and society. So those are the existence of EPIC. That's what we do. We bring people together. We give them market reports. We help people find jobs. We have an employment platform. If I can just share my screen over here, just I can show you, for instance, a map of share screen. Let me just close the chat. So this is, for instance, a map of the companies in Europe, but it would be fantastic. I would just love to have such a map for India. Let me tell you where I am today. I am today in Cologne over here. And it would be fantastic if India had an association. And you can have both industry and society and universities and research, but, you know, at least make a different classification. But I can see here where I am in Cologne. if there are any photonics companies. Oh, there's actually one over here. So who is that? NKT Photonics, big company. The CEO of NKT Photonics, Basil Garabed, is on our board of directors. But I can basically zoom into any place and look up which companies are there. Wouldn't it be fantastic if in India you had a map where you could just look up companies? Let's go a step further. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you had, like we have this at Epic, by the way, a directory where you could just type stuff. So somebody said Spintronic, which I did not understand. But look, Spintronics, there is a research center in Prague, in Czech Republic, which is dealing with Spintronics. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you had a directory of all the photonics companies, the photonics research organizations in India, so that if you're looking for a job, for an internship, for something, if they needed to solve their own problems, that they could meet together. So this document over here, it's 203 pages. Epic is, again, more than 600 companies. We are going to be the largest photonics industry association in the whole world. Wouldn't it be great for India to have something like this, a directory, a map? And I think all of these kind of things could help to shape your ecosystem and help all of you. So is there another question? And when we stop questions, we'll stop. So because I understand it's late, you probably all want to go and sleep. Well, then just move on. Phytology, I don't understand what is phytology. So maybe if you can explain what is phytology. Computational imaging, standalone industry. I think that, again, I don't understand computational imaging. But industries standalone, it doesn't work. Everything is just coming together. And frankly, quantum, electronics, photonics is just high tech. Things no longer exist in isolation. Things are just so complex. Even if you just take a microscope, it has so many things in there. You've got lenses, you've got coating of the lenses, you've got alignment, you have software. So I would just say, as a general answer, stand-alone industry, that is not happening. There is a lot of interaction among industries. Companies in India dealing with liquid crystal technology, I don't know. And as I said, I would really love for you to have a directory. And who's going to do it? It's a leader. It's somebody like Epic founder Tom Pearsall, who said, like, we need to have this. Somebody's going to put the energy in doing that. We organized a 24 hours conference this year, just for the fun. You know, we had speakers from all over the world. Everybody was speaking 15 minutes. We started in New Zealand and we went all the way from Asia, India, Iran, Europe, USA. And there was Eric Rosas. He was the gentleman from Mexico, and he's extremely active. And you can see he's doing that from his heart. You know, he's trying to organize everything for Mexico. So it's individuals that take that leadership. So phytology is the area of life science dealing with study of plants. As I said earlier, plants, it's there's a lot. All the LED part, that probably would be the most obvious one. So for instance, the University of Wageningen in the Netherlands, they do a lot of research of that. And what is incredible, isn't it incredible, Google? And Google is not that old. You know, since when exists Google? It's not very old, but it's just incredible how it has changed the world. Just type it up. You type photonics for agriculture, photonics in plants, photonics, and there is so much to read. Now you will probably read some papers. Who wrote that paper? Was it a university? Was it a company? Find out, get in touch with that person. Ask them, well, you know, in doing that research, who do you get in touch with? So you start always with one question, you read one thing, then you find another one and another one and another one. And if you're passionate, you just won't be able to stop anymore, and you will just continue and become an expert in that topic. So I think we're kind of running out of questions. As I said, just ask anything that you want. In case I missed to answer one question, because I didn't read all of the chats, I've never seen so many questions. You guys are very, very active. You just keep putting all of these questions over here. Where can we get research materials? From where can we get research material and website? Just type in Google, whatever you're looking for, it's Google. I mean, if I was having this call with China, I couldn't say that. I would just say go to Baidu or some other search engine, but you have access to Google. Guidelines to prepare for the startup. Okay, startups, having a good idea is not enough. Okay, you've got to make a product. It has to work and it has to do with it, but it's not enough. You need to think of, how are we going to sell it? Who's going to buy it? Does the customer want it? Partner with somebody who has done a business degree. talk to business-minded people. That would be my number one tip. Find somebody who cares about sales, marketing, and business development. It's not enough to have a good idea. It's not enough to have a good product. People who say like, well, people will just buy it because it's the best there is. You know, it's not always the best technology that wins. So that would be my tip about startups. If you go on YouTube, let me see if I can share my screen again over here. Share screen. On our video channel, we have a lot of entrepreneurship videos. So let me just go over here. If you just type Epic Photonics YouTube, I don't know what comes up for you, but anyway, try to find our channel, Epic Photonics, and you will see that there are a lot of entrepreneurship related videos. Learn from people who've done it before. You don't have to reinvent the world, okay? So here under videos, I'll just give you an example. So if somebody cares, for instance, about telecom or telecommunication, for instance, let's say there's a video from that I did with Frank Levinson. Frank Levinson was the founder of Finisar. Finisar is a multi-billion company, and he's the founder. He created that company, obviously extremely successful because it's a multi-billion company, and we have had so many online meetings. You know, we organized hundreds of meetings over here. So this is, by the way, investors. So if you search for these investors, you can learn about entrepreneurship. That is very closely linked. Michael Levy, fantastic presentation, and that's the rooftop of the building where he lives in San Francisco. Beautiful place. Milton Chung also created a company, world famous. And this is, for instance, Frank Levinson that you can see over here. So this is a video where he's explaining about that. So lots of resources on the internet. But if I can make one tip, is learn from the real people who did it. Okay, you have a lot of people who are there who have the theory. Why learn about theoretical concepts when you can just learn from the guys who did it, you know? And maybe things have changed in the last 30 years where today. Today, young people, they were more ambitious and they want things faster. But okay, we can still learn from that. So learn from the real guys. How does the consortium meet and do the members share product detail and technology? We have spent a lot of time in bringing people who are at the highest level, CEOs or CTOs. The reason at the meetings we bring together the CEOs and the CTOs is because they dare to take the responsibility to share. They will talk about strategy and things like that. If you have an engineer, is he gonna dare to talk about the problems of the company, the roadmap for the future? So try to bring together people at an executive level who are very competent to know. So yes, we organize meetings, a lot of receptions, drinking receptions, dinners. So the networking part is extremely important. I know usually you present papers at conferences and everybody can read that. We usually make the presentations short, 10 to 15 minutes, but a lot of time for discussion. And if you can see, I did the same here as well. I didn't want to bore you with a 1 hour presentation. Keep it short, go to the point and open it up. So do companies really hire PhDs around the world? Well, yes, it's a super high tech. I have an employment website. So Epic has the largest photonics employment website in the world. You can look it up. It's called Jobs in Photonics. So Jobs in Photonics has 1,200 jobs in photonics.com. It has 1,250 job openings. You can just, and a lot of them will require a very high level of degrees. So that's the largest jobs website. Let me see if you have any other questions. And I know that it's late, so if you need to leave, I will not be upset. Okay, we actually meant to make it shorter. So again, if you need to leave to move on to something else, it's fine. I will not consider it a sign of disrespect. I understand you have other things to do, and I'm sorry that I'm taking so long. Let me see if there is anything, any other question. I quickly go. So what else? Role of photonics in low noise laser design. I don't know if you were there when I said that before, Tony, but I'm not a technology person, so it's to technology. This is also very fascinating. Adjust your language to the person you're talking. If you're talking to the CEO of a company, try to talk more business, try to be more to the point. If you're talking to somebody who is a research professor, maybe you can go more into the technology. My case, I'm not a technology person, so I cannot. How do we grow an ecosystem for photonics in a country? What India is, and I'm not an expert, okay, but my impression was you're doing a lot of software because software just needs a computer. And the problem with photonics, you need hardware, you need research labs and clean rooms. My tip, if you could create an organization, first of all, lobby so that you need more manufacturing infrastructure. And it's so expensive that that's what governments need to do. They have to put money into high-tech research, prototyping things, because it's too expensive and it's a lot of money. Government needs to understand photonics is the future. Your government needs to understand that it's tackling your societal challenges, hygiene, mobility, healthiness, and all of that, and put money into that. Then once you have that, you can develop the technologies and all of that, then create, because you have the startup spirit. I was so impressed. India really has a startup spirit, but then you need to find money. Find people who, you need these business angels, but you have people who have made money. You have large companies as well. I mean, you've got Tata, you've got people, you've got decent sized companies in India. Get their support. One tip, make sure that you develop things that the industry needs. And one recommendation, if you can do, invite somebody, one of these potential clients, invite him for lunch, invite him for a meal. If I only had a few dollars, that's what I would do. I would invite a potential client for a meal and ask them, what do you need? And see if there is a match with what you're developing. Because you can have the best thing in the world, but if nobody wants it, if the guys who are ready to pay for it don't care, it's useless.
Sir, sir.
Yes, I talked too long. Yeah? Okay, good.
No, sir. I just want to ask one question.
Sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Like we are now students and we have not any capabilities to do these kind of things like leadership qualities to enforce our government or to impress our government to do these kind of photonics works, because these are necessary. Eventually, photonics is helping in every area. Quantum photonics, singular photonics, we can say applied photonics. They are very magnificent, and we should imply all the things. But what is the concern that government is not focusing so much on these things? Like they are not encouraging the students to do this, and students have not any kind of that potential to reach these peoples, like high effective peoples. So what we can do?
Well, no, well, you can. I give you an example. We have to lobby the European Commission to tell them that photonics is important. They are also not listening. So who is somebody respected that they will listen to? And we got a letter signed by 3 Nobel Prize laureates. 3 Nobel Prize laureates wrote to the European Commission saying photonics is important. So you can do the same. Find out who in India is very respected, who cares about photonics. Find 3 of them to write a letter saying, what do you want? The hardest part is like, if you were writing to the government, to Modi, it's like, what do you want? So define what you want. Find these guys. And then you find somebody who's well respected in the community. Again, take a company which exists for a long time. So who in your community is very well respected, who could send that letter, schedule a meeting. So there is no money involved. Huh? Look it up. Who is the most famous? Talk to people. Because no money. It's a phone call. It's a WhatsApp. Ask who is the most famous person in India for photonics. Then ask him who is the most famous person, and then ask him who is the most famous. Then you will reach out the really famous person. Okay, talk to that. It doesn't require money. All what I described, it's email, it's phones, and that's it. It's a strategy. But yes, get the support of that. Then you can also have quantity, petitions. How many students, how many universities? I have a position paper to say photonics is important. I got 500 CEOs of companies, CEOs who signed the document. You've got the signature over there. These are all powerful things. So work with people who are good at strategy. I usually recommend people who are running companies. They are good at strategy. Ask them what would be good for the country. And again, it's one person has to coordinate that. Listen to the smart guys and ask the right questions. What do you want for the country? What would be a good way to do that? It's hard to convince here. Do you think it's hard to convince in every country? Why? Because lobbying means that everybody wants something. So you have to go there, you have to bring the right argumentations. But listen, people manage to lobby for cigarettes. They manage to lobby for alcohol. They manage to lobby for so many things. Really, photonics, it's saving the world. It's creating jobs. It's innovation. Come on, we've got all the right arguments. So you need a good strategy, but you've got the ingredients to lobby your governments. Okay. I think I don't want to keep it longer, so I'm not going to read the chat anymore. If you want to ask a question, you will have to unmute yourself, but otherwise we're going to close. So if you want to, I want to be respectful of your time. So if there is any last questions, please unmute and you can ask.
Guys, if you have couples of questions, then you can just unmute yourself and switch on your camera so that it should be interactive. Like I have asked one question, like you can also do that. Yeah.
Don't be shy. So we're going to count 5 seconds, you know, just to get the people to find the unmute button. Sir. But if there's yes, Amir.
Yeah, I'm
yeah, I just mentioned, I have done my PhD actually in the UK and I've come back to India now. And I'm struggling actually to find jobs here because one, the industry itself is not existing in this field. The industry itself is not existing in this field, or actually when I reach out to research institutes in India, like, you know, the bigger institutes which are working in, you know, ultra fast lasers and things like that, their base salaries are really very low, lower than what I got before I even went for my PhD, you know, very low salaries. And the question then comes, what am I doing and what is my value? You know, what value can I bring into the market over here if I'm not being valued myself?
Ultra fast, is that what you said, Amiel?
Yes, ultra fast laser. I work with laser micro machining.
Okay, so
and
special
materials like that.
Can you tell me 3 companies in India who are dealing with, who are developing laser micro machining machines?
There is almost none.
Well, I know 3, and I'm based over here. You've got SLTL, you've got Meta,
STL,
and the one with the 3 letters logo. You know those 3
Suresh ST. Yes, I've already reached out to them. Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first part. First, get to know the ecosystem and go to these exhibitions, go to conferences, Google, search a lot on the Google. Then, in addition to your competencies, how do you apply? Again, you can be the brightest guy in the world, but you know, how is your application letter? I have seen a lot of CVs. You know, when people write. Maybe double check the way that you're approaching the companies if it's good. Get a sounding board. Maybe ask for somebody that you trust. But really share, guys, I see hundreds of CVs. There is from 0 to 100, you know, the kind of, I'm not saying that's the case, I mean, but just check how you're approaching them. Did you do your research to find out what they are working on and what are their priority topics? Did you just jump on them and say like, I want a job? Or did you try to find out what they are doing? You go maybe first to an exhibition. Are they exhibiting at some shows? Can you approach them in a less I want a job kind of like, meet the guys, learn what they do, what kind of thematics are they working on, build a relationship with them before you ask for the job. The job will come later. And as I said, don't worry about the money. Again, if you can afford it, the reality, but you know, worry first about understanding what they need versus like, I want the job. You know, I'm just throwing at ideas like that. I saw that there was somebody else, Linga, who you wanted to ask, I think.
Hello, sir. Actually, what I mean by startup is like, if you want to start something from scratch, like one of our friend who has finished his PhD from UK is you know, is trying very hard to get a job. Like people like him, if you could, we could like you know, form like a group or network. So that is what I mean, like startup in the sense. Can we start something from scratch, like you know, to you know, build up new, like you know, something like some company in Europe? Can we, I mean, really imagine something like that and can you give some guidelines on that? That is what my actual question was like.
So you India is a big market, a big potential, and you have a couple of decent sized companies. You know, I went Meta, it's his first name, I forgot his last name. He actually commented on my LinkedIn post over here, so I can actually look him up just in a moment. He commented for the post over here, but he's running in security and defense. Anish Mehta, you know, he's with Paras Defense and Space Technology. It's not a small company, you know. You've got companies in micro machining, companies in defense, companies in that. Again, that's the role of an association. Now, if you're going to ask me who's going to drive that, again, he has to emanate from your industry. Who's going to drive that? But you have all the potential. You've got companies with established products, established revenue, and they could be funding startups. You know, they could be doing competition challenges. It's pure organization. If I was in India, I would contact the biggest companies because they've got money and they can give some money. Contact the biggest companies in different fields: communication, security and defense, life science, and that, and get the guys and to say, listen, we should stimulate our ecosystem a little bit. Can you put in some money? Let's organize startup competitions. So maybe you do this in conjunction with exhibitions. So Laser World of Photonics in India every year. Maybe over there, you could organize something over there. Maybe you contact exhibition organizers, contact the Messe Munich, which is the world leading organizer of the biggest show in the world, Laser World of Photonics. Ask them if they want to organize a startup competition, you know, where you can attract over there. What else could you be doing? Social media, create a group which is about startup ideas in India, get people to follow it, get it to share. You know, making websites and blogs don't cost money. So again, don't go with the money excuse. I will not take that. I grew Epic. I couldn't pay my salary. I joined in April 8 years ago. In October, November, I couldn't pay my salary for 2 years. Today, I've got 23,000 followers on LinkedIn. When I put a message, I announced that Intel became member, 300 likes, 14,000 views, you know. So there are ways you can compensate the money with the creativity. But that would be some ideas. Find who knows these big companies, contact Laser World of Photonics in Munich to organize a startup competition. Any other questions or comments? You can unmute yourself. And again, Ninga, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but I think there are ways with creativity that you can still get there. Any other questions? Okay, so I think we will share this recording, Vikas Kumar. If you send it to me.
Yes, sir. I will share to everybody if they want. They just email me and I will.
No, I will put it online, Vikas Kumar. If you want, you send it to me. I will post it online on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, we have managed to get 1,500 followers since the beginning of COVID. When we put it there, it gets over there. So again, there is, you know, what is unique now versus 20 years is the internet. You can really reach out and learn and connect much more. And the COVID has actually accelerated that you can also reach out to many more people. Send it to me. I'll put it on the internet and then you can give the link to everybody. So I need to thank you so much, all of you, for
thank you very much, sir.
People
thank you very much,
who are
sir.
there listening and watching. Again, I just throw ideas and maybe I hope if it inspired a little bit or something, I would be happy that it served for some purpose. But again, otherwise, if you're studying physics, fantastic. So go for photonics. Okay. Everybody.
Okay. So if there is no question, then we will close up this webinar. And thank you very much, sir, for joining and have this kind of interaction from your side. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye-bye, everybody. And thanks again for the opportunity.